The laughter in my parents' kitchen didn't sound like home. It sounded rehearsed. Glasses clinked. Haley's voice rose above the noise, and Mom beamed as if she'd just won a trophy. I stood in the doorway holding a small white box. Inside was the last slice of my birthday cake, the one I'd bought myself. "Hey," I said softly. I stopped by to drop something off. "Mom." Diana Lee. Didn't look up right away. She was stirring her famous crab dip, wearing pearls, gold bracelets, and that smile that only appeared when guests were around. "Sienna, we didn't know you were coming." "You didn't." I set the box on the counter. "It's my birthday." Her hands froze, just for a second. Then she recovered too quickly. "Oh, sweetheart, right, gosh. Time flies. We've just been so busy planning Haley's promotion dinner. You know how these things go. Haley Lee, my 26-year-old sister, all curls, charm, and career sparkle, raised her champagne glass. "Don't be mad. Sigh, you know Mom and Dad can barely keep up." I smiled. The polite kind. "Yeah, I've noticed." Dad Mark Lee, quiet, kind eyes. Always the peacekeeper mumbled, "Happy birthday, well, kiddo," before pretending to check the oven timer. That was the thing about my family. The louder the celebration, the smaller I felt. 5 years ago, Mom forgot my birthday for the first time. She made up for it with a card 3 days late and a line that still echoed in my head. "You've never been one for attention anyway." I'd laughed it off then. I don't laugh about it anymore. The crab dip sizzled. Haley talked about her new office, her amazing boss, the rooftop party her friends were throwing. Mom nodded proudly, eyes shining. No one asked about my job, or my life, or how I'd spent my birthday dinner at a Thai place near my apartment, with 2 coworkers who felt more like family than the people standing in front of me now. The white cake box sat unopened on the counter. It looked ridiculous next to the trays of appetizers and the silver serving spoons. Haley leaned against the island, grinning. "You'll come Saturday." "Right. It's going to be huge. Dad even booked a band." I shook my head. "I don't think so." Mom frowned. "Don't start." "Sienna, it's important we show up for each other. Like you showed up for me tonight." The words slipped out before I could stop them, for a heartbeat. Everything went still. Even the oven stopped humming. Then Mom exhaled sharply, smoothing her pearl necklace. "Let's not make this dramatic. You know how sensitive you can be." I nodded, the way I always did when she used that word sensitive, like it was a flaw, not a wound. I picked up the white box. "Don't worry, I won't ruin the mood." And as I walked back to my car, their laughter picked up again, bright, hollow, practiced. In the rearview mirror, I saw my reflection 29, tired, invisible. The box sat beside me, the last slice of cake untouched. That was the moment I knew next year I wouldn't be standing in that doorway again. For 5 straight years, my birthdays had been a silent routine, a text that never came, a promise that never followed through. It wasn't forgetfulness, it was habit. I used to count on my fingers. "They'll remember next year." I stopped counting after 27. Mom, Diana, always said family wasn't about gifts or attention. "You've never been the type who needs the spotlight." Sweetheart, that line had become her shield. She wielded it every time I asked for acknowledgement. Haley, on the other hand, never had to ask. Everything she touched turned into a celebration. When she got her driver's license, they threw a backyard party with twinkle lights and catered food. When she graduated college, they rented out a restaurant. When she got her first apartment, Mom posted a photo online. Our baby's first home. When I graduated, we went to dinner at a chain restaurant. No photos, no posts, no memory worth keeping. I'd tried not to care. I really had. I buried myself in work, climbing the slow ladder at the healthcare network where I started as an assistant. I became the quiet one everyone could rely on, the kind of person who made things run but never got credit for it. I saved money the way other people collected love carefully, secretly, hoping one day it would mean something. Each paycheck, a small transfer to my savings account. Each year, another reminder that nobody was coming to rescue me. Meanwhile, Haley's milestones never stopped. Promotion parties, vacation send-offs. "Mom, we need to make it perfect," she'd say. And Mom always did. Dad would nod, silent as ever, doing the heavy lifting and disappearing once the spotlight hit his wife and younger daughter. I'd show up when invited, smiling, helping set up tables or cleaning afterward, blending into the background until someone remembered I existed. Sometimes Haley would hug me for the camera for family optics, not affection. But there was one moment that rewired something inside me. 2 years ago, Mom called asking for money to help with Haley's new car. "We'll pay you back next month," she said. They never did. I didn't even ask. That's what family was supposed to be, helping without keeping score. Except I was the only one keeping receipts in silence. Now, standing in my apartment surrounded by quiet, I looked at the framed photo from Haley's last birthday, her smiling between our parents. Everyone glowing under string lights. I wasn't in it. I'd been the one behind the camera. 5 years of being the steady one, the invisible one, the one who never needed attention. Maybe that was the lie that kept this family comfortable, and maybe it was time to stop being comfortable. It happened the next morning, the message that broke something inside me without raising its voice. "Can you pick up the deposit check for Haley's party venue tomorrow? We're swamped." Mom. No greeting, no happy belated birthday. Just another task. Another reminder that my role in this family was somewhere between errand girl and invisible helper. I stared at the screen for a long time. The words blurred, and for a second, I thought about replying with the same energy, "Can't," busy with my own life. But that wasn't me. Not yet. Instead, I opened my laptop. The glow of the screen filled my small apartment, and the familiar numbers blinked back $48,000 in savings. Years of skipped vacations, worn-out shoes, packed lunches, saying no when I wanted yes. I had told myself I was saving for a house, for a future that looked like stability. But maybe, deep down, I'd been saving for freedom. I typed beach homes for sale near Washington coast. Dozens of listings appeared, but one photo stopped me: a small cedar-shingled cottage in Westport, standing alone under a gray sky, waves curling in the distance, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, ocean view, $45,000. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't big, but it looked peaceful. Mine. My phone buzzed again, another text from Mom. "Make sure to get a receipt this time. You always forget." That one stung more than it should have. I closed my phone and looked back at the screen at that tiny house that didn't need permission to exist. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like helping anyone else. I felt like helping myself. And in that quiet, impulsive moment between obedience and self-respect, a decision formed. I wasn't just going to buy a house. I was going to buy my way out. The road to Westport wound through miles of pine forest, the kind of silence that makes you hear your own heartbeat. My car smelled faintly of coffee and nerves. Every mile pulled me farther from Spokane, farther from the version of myself who waited for permission to be seen. The house sat 3 blocks from the beach, small and square with cedar shingles weathered soft gray. The sign out front read, "For sale, Tara Kim Realty." Tara met me at the gate, mid-50s. Short hair, practical coat. The kind of woman who spoke like she'd already seen everything and didn't waste time pretending otherwise. "You must be Sienna. Long drive." "Long life," I said before I could stop myself. Inside, the house smelled like salt and sunlight. Hardwood floors, white curtains moving in the breeze. A narrow kitchen with updated appliances that looked out toward the ocean. The living room had wide windows, their glass clouded with sea air, and a small porch that faced the dunes. "It's not fancy," Tara said, "but it's solid." She watched me walk through every room, the tiny bedroom, the clawfoot tub, the quiet that hummed louder than any conversation I'd had at home. In my head, I saw flashes: Mom laughing at Haley's parties, Dad's half smiles, the empty seat at every dinner table where my presence barely registered. Here, the air felt different, unfiltered. Mine. Tara leaned against the doorway. "Can I ask you something personal?" I nodded. "Are you running from something or toward something?" I thought about that for a long time. The waves outside answered for me both. "I want to make an offer," I said finally. She blinked. "You don't want time to think it over? I've done enough thinking for one lifetime." When I handed her the cashier's check, all $45,000 of my saved invisibility, she gave me a look somewhere between respect and concern. "People buy homes for different reasons," she said softly. "Just make sure yours feels like a beginning, not a revenge." I smiled faintly. Sometimes they're the same thing. As I stepped outside, the wind carried the sound of waves. It didn't feel like running. It felt like arriving. 3 weeks later, the sale closed on my birthday. The signing took 15 minutes. Tara slid the last page toward me, and I wrote my name with hands that didn't shake when she handed me the keys. She smiled. "Happy birthday. Sienna. I hope this place gives you peace." Peace. That word landed differently than she meant. By the time I reached the beach house, the sun had started to fall. I set down my bag, opened every window, and let the ocean breathe through the walls. The space echoed with its own kind of quiet, not lonely, just clean. I poured a cheap bottle of wine into a plastic cup, walked to the porch, and watched the sky bruise pink and gold for a long moment. I said nothing. I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just sat there finally still. Then I took a picture. Me in the chair, the house behind me, the horizon bleeding into the sea. My caption was short birthday present to myself. Family not invited. I hit post and turned off my phone. It was the simplest act of rebellion I'd ever made and the loudest. The next morning, my phone nearly melted. 73 missed calls, over 100 messages, texts from numbers I hadn't seen since high school, comments piling up under the photo. "Wait, is this real? You bought a house. Your mom must be losing it." The first text came from Mom. "What is this about? Call me right now." Then 2 minutes later, "Is this a joke? Where did you get the money Dad wrote? Your mother is very upset. We need to talk." And Haley, ever the golden child, "Are you seriously making drama on my month?" "You can't let me have one thing." I scrolled through them in silence. Each message sounded like the same voice ownership disguised as concern. I poured another cup of wine and opened my curtains wide. The light hit the ocean like shattered glass. For years, I'd begged for recognition. Now they were all watching, but not because they cared, because they couldn't control the story anymore. By noon, a few extended relatives chimed in. "Your mom's heartbroken. You should have told her first." Posting that was cruel. No one asked why. No one said, "Happy birthday." It was almost funny, the family who ignored me for years suddenly acting like I'd gone missing from their lives. That night, I sat on the porch again, the sea turning black under the moon. My phone buzzed endlessly inside, but I didn't move to get it. For once, I wasn't the one chasing their attention. They were chasing mine, and maybe that was the closest thing to justice I was ever going to get. The phone rang for the 4th time before I answered. Mom's voice came through sharp, already raised. "Where have you been?" "I've been calling all night. I was sleeping," I said, calm and quiet. "It was my birthday." "Your birthday was yesterday, Sienna." And that's not the point. Her tone softened the way it always did before she delivered the blow. "What is this about a beach house? Did you actually buy it without telling us?" "Yes." Silence, thick and disbelieving. Then, "How? Where did you get that kind of money?" "I saved it. For 5 years." Her voice rose again. "You've been hiding money from us." "Hiding?" I almost laughed. "It's my salary." "Mom, I didn't realize I needed to report my savings to you. Don't get smart with me. We're your family. You should have come to us. We could have helped you find something better, Something closer to home. I like where it is, I said, and I didn't want help. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You bought a house out of spite, to make a statement. I bought it because I wanted it. The statement was just a bonus. There was a pause long enough to hear her breathe. Then her voice cracked, the soft, guilt-laced version she saved for manipulation. Do you know how that caption made us look family not invited? People are calling, asking questions. You've humiliated us. How does it make you look? I asked. Like parents who forgot my birthday 5 years in a row. That's not fair. We've been busy. Your birthday always falls at such inconvenient times. Busy throwing parties for Haley. I finished for her. Her breath caught. We were going to take you to dinner this weekend. Were you? Or did you just decide that now that is incredibly unfair? Sienna, is it? When was the last time you called me just to ask how I was doing? Not to ask for help. Not for money? Just to talk. You're being overly dramatic. I almost smiled. There it is, the word you use when you want me to shut up. There was rustling, and then Haley's voice cut in. Brittle and defensive. God, Sienna, you're turning this into such a scene. Mom's been crying all morning. I'm not the one who started it. Haley, oh please. You posted a whole announcement just to get attention. Maybe if you weren't so what? So bitter, she said finally. You've always been jealous. That's why you're doing this. Something inside me went very still. Do you know what I got for my birthdays the past 5 years? Haley, don't start. The answer's nothing. But I can tell you what you got: a designer purse, a weekend in Portland, a car down payment. I even helped pay for that car. $2,000 from me. Did you know that the silence that followed was almost beautiful? Haley's voice dropped. Mom didn't answer. I'm done pretending, I said quietly. You don't get to rewrite history just because it makes you uncomfortable. You forgot me, and now you're mad the world noticed. Mom's tone turned icy again. You're destroying this family over one birthday. 5 birthdays, I said, and a lifetime of being told I shouldn't mind. She exhaled hard. You're being ridiculous. Maybe, I said, but at least I'm finally being something. I hung up before either of them could respond. The waves outside my window roared louder than any apology they'd never make, and for the first time, I didn't feel small for ending the call. I felt free. By the weekend, the story had already spread through every branch of my family tree. Texts poured in from cousins I hadn't heard from in years, each one carrying the same subtle accusation wrapped in concern. You really hurt your mom. This isn't like you. Maybe you should apologize before things get worse. Not one of them asked why I'd done it. Not one of them said, Happy birthday. Then came the email from Mom. The subject line read, Family meeting Saturday at 2 p.m. Your father and I think it's time we handle this face to face. Everyone will be there, grandparents, aunts, uncles. We love you, but this behavior can't continue. Please come home and make things right. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. Handle this. That was her phrase for control the narrative. By Monday, the consequences had slipped into my professional life. My manager called me into a quick video meeting, concerned, polite, rehearsed. Sienna, there's been some chatter online. Are you okay? Your mother reached out to the HR line about your mental health. It took me a second to process it. My mother had called my employer. I'm fine, I said tightly. Perfectly fine. That night, I sat in my beach house with a single candle burning and the sound of waves crashing outside, the only witness to my disbelief. Mom's text came later. You're forcing us to take steps we don't want to take. For years. That kind of message would have crushed me. I would have panicked, tried to fix everything, begged for understanding, but something had shifted. The fear had burned itself out. I didn't reply. Instead, I wrote an email to HR explaining the situation, factual, calm, professional, no drama, no apology, just boundaries in writing, Then I walked down to the beach barefoot, the sand cold under my feet, and screamed into the wind until my voice was gone. When I came back inside, I opened my laptop again. The listing for my parents' house, the one I'd memorized from childhood, popped up in my browser history. A coincidence or a cruel joke from the algorithm? For a moment, I hovered over the photo of that perfect suburban home, the front porch where I'd once stood with a birthday cake no one had baked. I didn't cry this time. I just whispered, "Not my home anymore." Outside, the ocean kept moving indifferent, eternal, and somewhere between the rhythm of the waves and the silence of my phone, I realized their intervention had already failed. They couldn't fix what I'd stopped giving them access. The silence came first. Not the cold kind, not punishment, but the kind that fills a space after years of being drowned out. My phone stayed dark for days. The world beyond the waves kept spinning, but here, inside this small house by the ocean, everything felt suspended. I woke with the sunrise, made coffee, and watched seagulls argue over scraps. I answered no calls, sent no emails that weren't necessary. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for choosing myself. Each morning began with quiet, and each night ended with the ocean's steady breath outside my window. I thought peace would feel empty, but it didn't. It felt earned. Tara stopped by once with paperwork for property maintenance and a bag of pastries. "You settling in?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. "I think I'm learning how—" I said. She smiled, eyes kind. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding silence. The trick is to let it teach you. After she left, I sat on the porch and thought about that, how silence could be both a weapon and a gift. In the quiet, the old memories started to resurface, not the loud ones, but the small moments I'd buried. The way Dad's eyes darted away whenever Mom dismissed me. The way Haley's laughter filled rooms that emptied when I entered. The way I'd pretended not to notice. Now, those fragments felt distant, like echoes from someone else's life. That night, I baked my own cake, just a small one. Chocolate. The same kind I'd carried in that white box weeks ago. Only this time, no one had forgotten. I poured a glass of wine, sliced a piece, and whispered into the stillness, "Happy birthday." Sienna. The words didn't ache anymore. Outside, the wind howled across the dunes, not lonely, not empty, just alive, and for the first time, I realized silence wasn't what happened when the world stopped caring. It was what happened when I finally did. The knock came on a Thursday afternoon, sharp, impatient, familiar. Through the window, I saw her standing there. Haley, designer coat, perfect hair, looking like she'd walked out of a photo shoot and into my solitude. I didn't open the door right away. I watched her fidget, cross her arms, then finally spot me through the glass. "Sienna. Come on, don't make this weird." When I opened the door, the wind rushed between us, cold and salt-heavy. "What do you want?" She stepped inside without waiting. "Mom sent me. She's worried about you." I almost laughed. "She's worried about control." "Not me." Haley looked around at the small living room, the cozy clutter, the open windows, the quiet peace that made her uncomfortable. "You really live like this?" she asked. "Like I'd chosen to camp instead of exist." "I do." "She's coming next week," Haley said. "Mom, with Dad and Grandma. They're driving down to talk to you in person." "No, they're not." "You can't stop them." "I can. It's called trespassing." Her jaw tightened. "You're being impossible. You think this little house makes you better than us? You're still part of the family. Families don't treat love like a scoreboard." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic. Maybe if you'd done something worth noticing, they would have noticed you." The words hit harder than she expected them to. I saw regret flicker across her face, but I didn't let her take them back. "Get out," I said quietly. "Sienna, get out." She hesitated, then stormed past me, slamming the door behind her. For a long moment, I stood there listening to the echo fade. Then I opened my laptop and wrote a short email to a lawyer Tara had recommended. Hi. I need to establish a formal boundary regarding unwanted visits from family members. The next day, a cease and desist letter was sent to my parents' address. Mom left 3 voicemails calling me heartless. I saved every one of them neatly labeled, perfectly archived. It wasn't revenge, it was documentation. And this time, I wasn't their problem to solve. I was my own witness. 6 months later, the ocean had become my clock. Morning light spilled across the porch as I sipped coffee and watched waves erase their own footprints. My phone buzzed Dad's name. I almost didn't answer, but something in me had softened, not forgiven, just settled. Happy birthday, kiddo, he said, a day early this time. Didn't want to risk forgetting. I smiled, the kind of small, private smile that didn't need witnesses. Thanks, Dad. We talked for 20 minutes about my job, the weather, a book I was reading. No apologies, no guilt, just conversation. It was fragile, but real. When the call ended, I stood and walked to the kitchen. On the counter sat a full chocolate cake, homemade, imperfect, beautiful, the same flavor I'd bought alone the year everything broke. I set a single candle in the center, lit it, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Sienna." No empty seats, no forgotten calls, no forced smiles, just me, the cake, and the sound of the sea breathing against the shore. For a moment, I thought about Mom, her control, her denial, her silence. I hoped she'd find peace, even if it was without me. I blew out the candle, the smoke curling into the light. This time, nothing was missing. Not attention, not approval, not love. Everything I needed was already here, in the quiet, in the salt air, in the freedom I'd built from scratch. The cake wasn't just mine, it was whole.